In Waterbury, Connecticut, in the dead of night, a killing occurs.
The victim received a shot almost like this.
Could Dr. Lee's examination reveal the identity of the shooter or the motive? Scott Mascia's murder seemed to have no motive, and no one had seen him shot to death as he sat in the car on the side of the road. Police turned to Dr. Henry Lee for help in understanding the sequence of events. The initial step in assembling the chain of events was identifying the bullet's point of entry, but that wasn't going to be easy. They started to put the window back together, every piece of it, since there was no other way to establish precisely from which direction the bullets entered the window. The process took 6 days. There were 2 likely scenarios. Either the shooter fired the fatal shots while standing outside the car, or while driving by. With the aid of crime scene specialists Timothy Palmbach and Robert O'Brien, Dr. Lee showed how he began the crime scene reconstruction, starting with the bullet found lodged in the side of the house.
By going to the bullet impact on the side of the house, we have a fixed, solid location. So the starting point is there.
Now from that point, the bullet in a short distance always travel straight. So what we did, we trajectory back, one line.
Once the reassembled window was placed in the car, Dr. Lee was able to determine that the first shot had shattered the glass, but missed the victim.
The first shot went through the window, fractured the window glasses. The second shot went through the open window and hit him on the head.
Then, investigators noticed something that had been overlooked. A third bullet mark on the side mirror, and then a fourth one on the hood of the car. And both came from a different angle than the first 2 shots.
Now we took a look at the other 2 trajectory. Okay, now we re-established this trajectory.
Right.
The shot is fired from this direction.
Right.
From north to south. And the bullet struck
Front of the hood here.
front of the hood here and ricochet off to that direction.
The different angles of the shots left no doubt the shooter was in a car. Based on the trajectory of the 4 bullets and where Scott was hit, Dr. Lee saw the picture of what happened that fateful night come into sharper focus.
More likely scenario is he stopped at the traffic light. Once the traffic light turned green, he turned, then somebody behind him, his car quickly overpassed him, fired 2 shots, then traveled a little over, fired 2 more shots, and speeded away.
And none of the information that we could garnish from our reconstruction is going to help us point a finger to an individual. It's not going to help us go to a fingerprint database or a DNA database or a firearms database. There's nothing that we're going to be able to do to develop a lead to help Waterbury identify who's responsible for this case.
Police decided to ask the public for help in a very public way. The governor stepped in and offered a reward for any information leading to Scott Mascia's killer. More time passed. Then, on the 4th anniversary of Scott's death, his family once again turned to the media and pleaded for the public's help. And this time, it worked. Waterbury police finally got the anonymous tip they had waited for. The caller said 2 men, Christopher Foodie and Anthony Azukas, might be involved. Police decided to interrogate Christopher Foodie first. He denied any knowledge of the crime, but when the police pressed him, his story started to change. And that information was a bombshell. Foodie told police he'd been in the shooter's car that night and had seen the whole thing.
And what the police learned from Chris Foodie was that there were 4 people in the vehicle. That it was Maria Bologna, his girlfriend who was in the car with him, and someone who initially was known to the police as Jay. And a person named Anthony Azukas was also in the car.
He stated that Mr. Azukas was in the front seat, and he claimed that they were riding around. They drove up on the back of a white car who was turning left onto Moran Street.
According to Foodie, the white car waited too long to make the turn after the light turned green, then pulled over to the shoulder. Sitting in the front seat, an enraged Anthony Azukas pulled out a gun and astonished everyone by firing 4 shots at Scott Mascia as they passed. After 4 frustrating years, police arrested Azukas for the cold-blooded murder of Scott Mascia. But the case still couldn't be closed. Although he had confessed to police, Azukas entered a not guilty plea at his arraignment and forced the case to trial.
Our reconstruction we did way before the witnesses surfaces. But what we reconstruct is identical as the witness described. That shows the value of the trace evidence, shows the value of reconstruction.
The jury heard a case that came down to witness statements and Dr. Lee's meticulous reconstruction.
The jury deliberated for approximately 2 hours and came back with a finding of guilty as to murder, then ultimately sentenced to 60 years, which in Connecticut is a life imprisonment.
Case was solved through the teamwork between the Waterbury detectives, laboratory scientists, and most importantly, the public, helping out, provide information. The case was solved.